Can a fast lane business be started on WordPress? Give me a break if this is a stupid question. Lol, I am starting my first online business. I am going to have to learn many new things and am aware of that. Looking forward to the challenges. But this business has scalability in an unsaturated market. The business plan is great and is certainly fast lane, but the process of executing it is going to be long and educational. I have no experience in web design or SEO. This is all new to me. I have started businesses before, but I have never started an online business. Any advice would be awesome. This thing is going to be huge and passive. I would eventually like to sell the site. But I am wondering if I could use a WordPress format, or is that a bad idea? My pockets are not very deep and I feel WordPress would be easier and faster to grasp than actually coding a site. But I also do not want to cut corners. WordPress is fairly dynamic. You can run just about any kind of website off of it, although some platforms support certain operations much better than WordPress. Check out for some good, cheap WordPress themes or templates. Full disclosure, as a non-programmer, I run all my sites through WordPress, or when I did e-commerce, big commerce, so I may be biased toward WordPress as an easy, non-technical fix. Awesome, man. Thank you for the response and advice. Does anyone know if MJ used WordPress to build the limo business talked about in the Fast Lane book? If you see this, MJ, any insight would be awesome for you personally. If not, if anyone has an answer, that would be great too. I'm just trying to figure out if it has any effect on value when and if time comes to sell the business. I don't think so. WordPress was created in 2003, and MJ founded his website on 2001. About WordPress, if you are planning to build this as type of website, I would advise you against WordPress. WordPress is great if you are building a blog, or website based on content, or even e-commerce. But beyond that, WordPress may compromise you because of performance. Thanks for the response, it was helpful. My site is going to be similar to this. This concept, just much different. As a developer, I'm not in love with WordPress. But as for your question, yes, many successful businesses do run on WordPress, but it also depends on what you want to do. A note about feature-packed WordPress themes, with many sliders, fonts and other stuff. Theme authors do this because it sells, and it's a competition, who will bloat their theme with more features. But the thing is, many of these theme features normally should be plugins. A theme is meant primarily to define websites' look, not functionality. Why this matters? Because if you ever decide to change a theme, your website might lose some of the functionality as well. Why not start with WordPress? Because it's free, open source, and once the biz takes off you can invest money into hiring a programmer from Elance, Odesk, or Freelancer. Make them created a custom PHP website from scratch once you are sure it will work. That's just my point. 02. It really depends on the functionality you expect your site to have. Without knowing that, it's really hard for anyone to advise you. I see you mentioned it would be like this. If you're referring to there, I'd recommend looking into forum software specifically, or, even better, membership site software. It's just really hard to say without knowing what you're trying to accomplish. To start though, WordPress is so versatile and easily customized that it's certainly a good recommendation to start your platform on. As for content-based sites, blogs, affiliate sites, e-commerce sites, etc., WordPress is an easy, no-brainer for someone who lacks coding experience, especially if you intend to sell it privately later. WordPress is so widely used that it makes private buyers much more comfortable picking up your offer, rather than grabbing something where they would have to learn any amount of coding. One word of caution: however, is that you should expect I would go as far as to say it's required, depending on what you want to do, to learn at least basic HTML or CSS or PHP, depending on how hands-on and customized you want your site to be. As Fastnessum said, people don't always make themes or plugins that are catered to whatever is you're planning to do. In fact, if your customer acquisition is largely going to be based on SEO, and with how fast Google is transitioning to mobile-friendly rankings, your site be mobile-friendly, free of errors, and load lightning fast, a lot of the stuff out there may, in fact, hinder your progress on that front. I guess that's a really long way of saying, yeah, WordPress is alright to start with. To be honest, anytime anyone asks if they should use WordPress, the answer is pretty much always yes. WordPress makes it easy to start, and starting is the hard part. If someone was experienced enough to use anything more complicated than WordPress, they would know whether or not they should use it. It's not to say that people can't learn other things, but WP's low barrier to entry just trumps the shit out of more proper ways of doing things. Maybe it has to be changed over later, but by then you'll have revenue that you can use to sort it out. If you don't have revenue, you don't have much of a reason to change, do you? I didn't know you could switch it over. Good info, thanks. WordPress is good for blogging or blogging about a specific niche. Can a fast lane business start on WordPress? Yes. Because anything can start anywhere. Can it be built on WordPress? No. WordPress is, in my opinion, overhyped. It is a great tool for people who want to start a blog in 2 hours. That is for lazy people. If you want to build a fast lane business, the software platform should give you entry barriers, control, and scale. EC&S out of the requirements of a fast lane business. CMJ's book. It's hard to build entry barriers into your business model based on a tool that everyone can download. C. It's impossible to have complete control over your business if you base it on somebody else's infrastructure. Whether that be the WordPress platform itself, the themes or the plugins. In theory you can build scale on WordPress, but only if the blog functionality is all you need. Like a news website would do that has 100,000 visitors per day and lives from advertisements. But if your company gets off the ground by selling a product, you need databases, custom-made software that accesses them, and custom-made delivery software and more stuff like that. So can you build a fast lane business on WordPress? I wouldn't consider it. Keep in mind that WordPress and all of its available potential configurations are nothing more than systems used for leverage. Just because anyone can download and use the CMS, does not mean anything. It is all dependent upon the application, of course, but for most simple content-based systems WP works just fine. Also keep in mind that WordPress has teams of developers working around the clock for free to keep the CMS safe and up to date. That alone keeps me coming back for more. One less thing I have to worry about. I can instead focus on more important matters. It's all about leverage. I guess a business is somewhat more than a content management system. First of all, every platform you use for every part of your business doesn't have to meet every point of just the business itself. And even though I agree that you don't get 100% control, your barrier to entry point is silly. It's like saying Skype is free, and anybody who wants it can get it. Therefore, I don't recommend making cold calls to prospective clients via Skype. In this particular case, it doesn't really matter who else can get it for what price. You don't need to create a new platform for every new website, the same way you don't need to develop a new social network to get likes. And your scale point is also silly. It's free to scale. Whether you have 10 people visiting your website or 1 meter, it costs the exact same amount and doesn't lose viability or functionality. I use PayPal to accept payments, no barrier to entry, which redirects them to a download page. I use eJunkie to send them their products after they purchase. Straight HTML can easily be used within WordPress, $5 or more. PayPal processes the payments free or % of sale and they're automatically added to my MailChimp email address free. It might be worth it for the op to discuss what their website will do so we can all give better insight, depends on the business. Once upon a time I thought I wanted a completely bespoke website because of control, then I thought about the time aspect. For some reason, every time someone says WordPress is lacking in something, people get emotional. It doesn't just happen here. Dennis, I get your point. But as I read Op's post, he wants to build a fast-lane online business on a WordPress format. He doesn't even mention other types of software. Oh yes, you could start with WordPress. And yes, if the business gets off the ground, you can add other types of standard software. But I maintain that if you want T, C and S built into your business model, you need custom-made software. Personally, I can tackle every competitor's business model just with tailor-made software alone. Doesn't mean it is advisable every time, but it can be done. Op should start to learn coding. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, Ajax, stuff like that. If nothing else, he would learn what these languages can do for him even if someone else does the coding. And it helps him a lot with SEO. Yes. My boss runs a $6 or very low overhead content-based business all on WordPress. WordPress rocks for a lot of websites. I'm also a developer and I'll say it to you straight. I'd check out Elegant Themes as well. For $39.89 you have access to 80 themes and 4 plugins, all incredibly polished, as well as their design templates in Adobe format. HostGator for hosting too. That being said, no, a software as a service site wouldn't work well with WordPress. I'd go far enough to say avoid WordPress for e-commerce. If you do choose WordPress, develop a pseudo design of all your website structures, writing, etc., through document files and illustrations before pushing it onto the platform. That way, in case like people say the theme doesn't work out or you don't like WordPress, you can withdraw easily without too much resistance. The whole theme idea can be easily avoided if you choose a single developer like I did. I think Theme Forest is just a bunch of developers' themes if I recall correctly. Also, plan on learning some code. It will help you in the long run and is easier than it sounds, especially if you just learn what you need. Sent from my Nexus 4 using Tapertalk 4. If you want a bit of a more complicated CMS, check out Drupal sent from my Nexus 4 using Tapertalk 4. Enlighten us. Personally, I think the whole theme thing is vastly overrated. Just because a bunch of designers can think up a few thousand themes and the world has a lot of themes to choose from, doesn't mean themes play a decisive role in getting a business off the ground. I'd rather not waste my time looking for the best WordPress theme out of 6,000 and instead design a server-based database that allows me to segment my customers and squeeze a higher margin out of them with follow-up mailings. You must not believe in the power of good marketing plus good copy. You could have the most basic HTML 7-page site that receives 10,000 visitors per day. If it has a 20% CR and you make $10 per sale or lead, you've got a very profitable, low-maintenance, low-overhead business. Ask me how I know. Oh, I do believe in the power of good sales copy, but if that sales copy comes directly out of your boss's head, he doesn't have a fast-lane business anyway. I dunno, a theme can be important. The default WordPress theme is a blog basically. I mean, especially if you have a product. You want to catch a consumer's eyes before anything. If it's purely an info website, you can settle on something simple, but an unthemed website of pure HTML will drive me away in a matter of seconds. For something visual, sent from my Nexus 4 using Tapertalk 4. If you mean by theme the design and layout of the website, I seriously do not see why you would need WordPress for that. In the end it is all design work with the help of CSS. That is what WordPress themes are about. Correct me, a design sent from my Nexus 4 using Tapertalk 4. Basically it's a high-end membership website for investment institutions. Some pay more than 100k for our research. Our main product, our research, is presented to them daily in blog format on WordPress. We did 200 sites, and lots of automated stuff with it in 2008 to 2010. We now do custom stuff for what we do. But yet, you can run blogs, affiliate sites, SEO sites, local stuff, membership sites, customer sites, e-commerce sites. The list is huge, and lots of plugins allow for most any kind of customization. Start someplace. No. Start to learn coding. I hate this advice. It's too much complication for somebody who's new online business to learn enough about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, Ajax, etc. If as a business owner, you don't already possess some decent working knowledge of the code, it's a lot more efficient to just get somebody else to do it for you, rather than learning a handful of text from scratch when you could be doing other things: customer feedback, lead gen, marketing, direct sales, strategy, etc. For every hour you spend learning to do subpar coding, you could have spent that hour doing something that will benefit your company several times over. You can't afford to stick your head in programming books when you're still trying to feel out the market, network, attain some early adopters. If you're running a biz where these things are important, you need a specialist, somebody who breathes this stuff. Somebody who can adapt, fix things when they break, keep up with changing rules, and understand how to integrate the techs. If you're already good at tech, go for it. Just like the people already good with numbers should keep the books, and people already good with the law should spearhead legal. There's just not enough use in learning to do something poorly when you could spend the time doing something you're already great at. It's just about appropriate leverage. Yes. But it has nothing to do with WordPress. It has to do with your consistency, your content, and your value proposition. I'm sure there are hundreds, perhaps 1,000s of Fastlane sites that are driven on WordPress. A lot of the gossip blogs are WP driven, for example, which made the owner pretty infamous, and probably pretty affluent as well. This question is like asking, can I pedal my bike from Los Angeles to Las Vegas? Sure you can. But you will need endurance, drive, and determination. Those without those qualities hop on the bike downloading WP Bike 2 miles, make 2 posts, then turn around and go home, blaming the bike, when the bike wasn't the problem, it was the biker. I agree with this to an extent. But what if you are just starting out, and don't have the funds to keep paying people to build your sites for you? I think School was trying to say that a little knowledge about coding is necessary to cheaply test your concept. A lot of people have never made money online, and I think a little of the basics would certainly help. I have several ideas for websites that I would love to give a try, but they are over my head in terms of coding, and would be too expensive to hire out. The only way to succeed would be to prove the concept, then find the money to hire it out. Maybe this can help you to see things differently. WordPress can definitely get the job done. I got a friend making $20, $30 a month on a WordPress site, and it's almost completely automated. But he worked his ass off for a year before hitting those numbers. I completely disagree with the people that are saying a Fastlane business can't be built with WordPress. There are a ton of WordPress blogs that are making a lot of money. Some of them are the top blogs in their niche and they are getting a huge amount of traffic. I guess you would have to describe what your definition of Fastlane is. A blog that earns over $20,000 a month and is run by 1 to 2 people is definitely Fastlane in my opinion, And I know for a fact there are plenty of them out there. So yes, you can start a fast lane business using WordPress, but again, remember that WordPress is just a tool. It alone will not make your business successful. Many people seem to think that a business that makes money is the same as a fast lane business. It is not. A blog is by definition a website that depends to a large extent on the content input of the owner or owners. It is their input that makes a blog successful. But remove the owners, gone successful blog. That is not fast lane. The definition of fast lane can be found in MJ's book. The T element of is time. It means that activity in the business can be separated from the owners, which is a requirement for a $X million liquidity event. As to WordPress, you can start a fast lane business on anything, but you cannot build a fast lane business on standard software alone. You need custom-made proprietary technology to build E, C and to a certain extent S into your business model. Okay, explain when a WordPress site or blog is bought out for millions of dollars and the owner of that site is now a millionaire. Would that not be fast lane then? Because this has happened lots of times. Also, many people don't know, but Mashable started with WordPress and still uses it as their backend CMS, and a custom Ruby on Rails frontend, I believe. Sent from my iPhone using TaperTalk Dash. Well, then I guess that all of are foolish for using it. And, 2. A lot of those companies are news-oriented, etc., which some will use as an excuse to counter my argument that WordPress is great. What about this website? There is no way that anyone could say that Entrepreneurship is not a fast lane business, and they are in the website business and they run their site on WordPress. Look, don't get caught up in not knowing how to code your own website. WordPress is an awesome way to get a website up and running. Eventually, you can pay someone to help you customize it. You can almost make it into anything, if you are willing to put the time and effort into it. Don't let worrying about whether WordPress is good or not be an excuse to not get your fast lane business started. Obviously, once you are making thousands of dollars a month with your business, you could explore some other options, or not. It's up to you. Good luck in your venture, get started. Oh, I guess Mike Larrington didn't get paid tens of millions for TechCrunch then? People keep missing the point. What I said is you can't base a fast lane business on WordPress, or any other kind of standard software. Probably people think that you can run large organizations like CNN, New York Times or eBay on a blog platform. Keep dreaming. That's only the outside shell that you see. An organization is somewhat more than a front-end website. But you'll never see that, unless you start understanding software. BGH, you can't base anything on one lone variable. Everything great is a conglomeration of many modifications and customizations. WordPress is great because of this. Think of it as a blank canvas, you just have to paint the picture. Mike Larrington told reporters during the takeover of TechCrunch by AOL specifically that one of the reasons for the takeover was he couldn't find enough talented engineers to write custom-made software for his company. Custom-made software, for instance, to build and develop, one of the spearheads of TechCrunch. Crunchbase even contained application program interfaces (APIs). Look it up, custom-made and developed by TechCrunch engineers that enabled other websites to automatically fetch data from the Crunchbase database. This was one of the technologies that TechCrunch had developed to strengthen its position in the marketplace of information products. Of course, if you want to keep believing that an industry giant like TechCrunch is just a simple blog running on a WordPress theme, be my guest. Dream on. Let's just hope someday you'll wake up. I have to respectively disagree. A fast lane business can absolutely be built on basic WordPress site. I don't think it matters at all if it's built on WordPress or not, though. Here's an example of what I believe is fast lane business built entirely on WordPress. Zero Hedge. I'm sure most people here know, but Zero Hedge is very popular financial blog. When ZH was first born, I think it even began by being hosted as a WordPress site. It was horrible. It's still not the best website. Does it have customization now? I'm sure, but it doesn't matter. People love it. It can be on any platform. It makes millions for the owner now. Owners. I'll run through A for ZH. Need. Yep, I'd say it fills one. People like the insider knowledge and analysis Zero Hedge provides. It's the number 536 most trafficked website in the US entry. I don't think most people can start off their website by attacking the investment banks, including Goldman Sachs, where he worked with their insider knowledge to the point where your website is brought up by Congress. Control. He controls everything about it, including his platform or content. Time. He grew so fast he hired up to 40 writers who constantly pump out content. He can never write any article again and the website would run itself. I think that's controlling his time. Scale. Went from nothing to one of the top blogs in world in less than 4 years. You guys are discussing the medium of content delivery. The value of Fastlane is driven by need, or the value of the content. The method of delivery isn't the big issue. Any FL can get its start on WP, just as much as a handwritten HTML site. Absolutely. Entry has nothing to do with the medium, it has to do with the value of the content. To give you an example. If I had a crystal ball and had a 99% win rate accuracy in beating the line on NFL football games, and used this inside information to create a membership website based upon the WP platform, how hard do you think it would be for me to make a killing? WordPress is not the key to the success, it's the product within the platform that people want to pay for. The issue with WP is you have people downloading it, installing it, and putting up 3 or 4 posts. They think that this is Fastlane when their content is nothing new or compelling. If I give you a piece of gold bullion, that fact that it's transported in a Honda or a Ferrari is secondary to the gold itself. No, you don't. Which is why WordPress was put forth as the solution where, 1. You don't have to waste your valuable time learning skills you'll only be mediocre at. 2. You don't have to hire somebody to hire your sites. 3. Your time or energy can be used doing something you'll kick ass at that will bring in money. ZH started on Blogspot. Indeed, it was horrible. The Blogspot incarnation was good enough as long as there were a few people posting. Once they grew, they migrated to a website that used scalable software. They needed a scalable solution. Absolutely not. I'm sorry. Successful news sites don't run on standard software. Even CNN and the New York Times and media like that don't run standard WordPress installations. They have teams of developers constantly adding custom-made software, even in collaboration with Automatic, the company behind WordPress. That is entirely correct, and it illustrates the point that you are missing. Because indeed nobody can do this. You need a team of people with each of them years of experience in the inner workings of the financial world and an intense desire to inform the public about how they are being swindled no matter what the consequences. In other words, no business motivation here. The financial success of this blog was neither planned nor desired. Fastlane logic implies the of entrepreneurial success. There was no such intent here. 2008 was the right time and the right moment to bring out Wall Street's secrets. It was the fall of Lehman Brothers that triggered this. The financial success of ZH was a side effect. In other words, this is. Another point you're missing, the fast growth of this blog wouldn't have happened if there weren't financial analysts behind it that already had many years of experience behind the scenes. How many? We don't know because we don't know who they are. But this is the proverbial overnight success that took 10 years of preparation. It takes that long to build up the knowledge and insider network necessary to manifest as an industry thought leader. Kudos to them. But on the outside, The fact is that very little is known all about who makes Zero Hedge. We don't know who the founders are, we don't know how many founders there were. Let's hope the founders have made a killing out of it. But don't try to replicate it, unless you are willing to build up your industry knowledge and network for more than 10 years, eagerly await a layman-type event and then suddenly stab your colleagues a knife in the back and go public, taking industry secrets and a following with you. Then still, you probably need custom-made software to scale it up. I agree that people are missing your point, and I think your contributions in the thread are extremely valuable and valid. There are a lot of people here thinking, oh my god, softwares I can use downloads to WordPresses and build Amazon or Google without touching a line of code. And for that reason, I'm glad you slapped them back to reality. While I do believe you can build a big business on a WordPress platform, there's nearly a 100% chance you're going to need custom solutions to fulfill the need of your website. While Entrepreneurship is a great example of a site built on it, is too. They are modified as though their only purpose was a UI or backend bootstrap, or like any other framework. Russia Today might be built on top of WordPress as well. My final verdict: use IT if you can. By the time you need all the custom stuff, you'll be well into a revenue stream that can afford it. Okay. Thanks for the clarification. But again, it doesn't matter what platform. Blogspot is being used if the product you have is serving an overwhelming need or want in the marketplace. I know of newsletters, this one being an example, Grant's Interest Rate Observer. Sorry, I keep using financial products as examples. That could literally be written down on a piece of notebook paper, copied using a copier and mailed out using the USPS, and hedge fund managers, analysts, brokers, etc. would still pay the $1,200 or whatever it is to read it. The product is that useful or needed or wanted to them. My point being is that it doesn't matter how the product is presented to the marketplace if there is an overwhelming need or want for it. I agree with you. Proprietary software, which I'm sure most news websites have, makes the process of scaling much easier, but it is certainly not necessary. I agree with you here. Businesses including ZH need to do their proper due diligence to be sustainable business. Not anybody can start something like ZH. You do need that insider knowledge. Sorry if I wasn't clear there. Not sure you really need a team if you have what the market needs or wants, but it certainly helps. Completely agree. ZH was a success by accident. I still believe it became a fast lane business even if was unintentional, though. Now by strict definition, fast lane logic implies the of entrepreneurial success. You're absolutely correct. Did the owners use and leverages all their prior knowledge? Yep. Will I use knowledge I have built up over the years to build a fast lane business? Absolutely. I would never start a blog or business similar to ZH. It does serve its purpose in the financial community, though. We are in contact with a few ZH writers. We swap data or charts from time to time, but you're right, no one really knows who the founders are. I can take an educated guess that it was one guy, though. I agree. Thanks for the insight. It's been interesting. Hopefully this wasn't directed at me. I would never think that. Nope, not you. I actually didn't mean anyone in this thread. Haha, just in general when people from the web browse the forum in hopes of starting the next Facebook. I think it was obvious and MJ answered it. I used to write sites from the age of about 13 using Dreamweaver, HTML and JavaScript, so I'm not that bad, but WordPress is great because of its speed to set up and everything built in and available. Will admit though it's nice to be able to modify the code in WordPress, which I am learning as it's so easy. Just wish it was so easy to program phone apps. How can you say any of this without knowing what the ops business model even is? Saying that just using WordPress violates C, C&S is just absurd. If you think every web-based business needs custom software to be successful in a ridiculous attempt at artificially inflating the barrier to entry, which is what you're suggesting, you're sorely mistaken and probably wasting a lot of money on custom software. Speed for repeatedly spouting absurd, unfounded advice in this thread. Because any business model can be disrupted by a competitor that uses custom-made software. Especially content models are very vulnerable to this. But, as I said earlier, you can only see that when you understand software. Let's say I have a warehouse full of custom equipment where I make a very unique, patented product. Then, using WordPress, I set up a storefront to sell my product to the world. Everything else aside, using WordPress has little to no bearing on my business's barrier to entry. The product creation, patent and process does. If you want to dispute blog's Fastlane viability, then that's completely different than what you started out saying, but saying WordPress, by itself, causes your business to immediately violate E, C and S, just doesn't work, as the crude example above easily shows. Edit. Hate posting something and then seeing that MJ already posted a relating example, deeper into the thread. This. Thrifty, I understand totally what you mean. At the same time I really don't understand what your problem is with someone saying he wouldn't use WordPress. What I originally said is that the platform should give you E, C and a bit of S. To clarify, maybe I should have worded that like, the platform should give you E, C and a bit of S. That is more precise. It really doesn't change much because the question was about the software platform. In your example, the main contribution to E, C and perhaps T would come from the world-class patented specialized GWiz product. However, once competitors smell that there is a very successful product with a high margin on the market, they will reverse engineer it and you will discover that your patent protection means nothing. What happens next? Once the uniqueness of the product is gone, your competitive edge is gone. And you will find yourself in a market in which you only sell your products against prices lower than your competitors. Which ultimately means no margins at all. In any business model, I would go for as many protective layers as possible. If you really have a world-class product and you have market validation, you will do yourself a disservice by using standard plugin modules for marketing, billing, delivery and all kinds of business operations. Business models can be attacked from any corner. Technology, price, market positioning, distribution, retail, legal, joint venture, quality, segmentation, and so on. I would use every differentiator I could find. I don't. You started out saying this. Then, as people began to point out the holes in your logic, you started changing up what you were saying to focus on content-based sites to try and bolster what you had already said. Is it nice to further raise barrier to entry in every way you possibly can? Sure. Is it mandatory? Lol, no. In many business models, it doesn't matter if the site's platform is WordPress, Drupal, custom-coded e-commerce platform or whatever else. As MJ alluded to with his Boolean example, how the content is delivered is secondary to many business models, including the example I made up. That's true of any business in any field. It's not exclusive to businesses that don't use custom software. Saying it's wise to add as many barriers to entry as you can is different than what you had been saying, which was basically, you can't build a Fastlane business without custom software. Which, by the many examples people have already listed, simply isn't true. I'm sorry, Thrifty. A business that is vulnerable to attack from a competitor that uses custom software is to me not a Fastlane business. I have tried to explain the reasons to the op. From your perspective a Fastlane business can run on WordPress, from my perspective it can't. Agree to disagree? Sure, we're going to have to. As I'm rereading this thread, I'm seeing numerous great points and examples being made that I missed the first time through, which you completely reject by just saying nope, not Fastlane. or even points made by the man who wrote the book, that you just completely bypass and ignore. Everyone's entitled to their own beliefs, definition of fast lane, and way of doing business, but people on this forum are pretty quick to speak up when someone is spreading poor advice or misinformation. So, don't take it personal. To each their own. I don't know what you are trying to do here, but the fact is that each and every time I provided extensive argumentation. You can disagree with it, but that is okay. Also, I prefer to debate on arguments, not on how many people agree with me. That doesn't prove anything and it doesn't get you into the fast lane. If Obama would pass a law that bars would have to hand out free beer every night, there is probably a majority for it. There is always a majority for the easy approach. That is why so few people get rich. I think you should be less judgmental and more open to new information. Don't take that personal either. Relax. I'm not being judgmental. People in this thread, including myself, were simply trying to point out that many people can, have, and still do start and operate fast lane businesses on WordPress or similar standard software. And, the only reason people were trying to point this out and have listed numerous examples of websites or businesses that did just that, was to keep the misinformation you were propagating in this thread that it can't be done, when in fact it can, has and continues to, from deterring a would-be fastlaner or have them spend thousands of dollars on custom platforms that they don't need to get started or thrive. That's all. Have a good evening. A different viewpoint is not misinformation. A good evening to you too. Skills stand, custom-built software would probably do the job better, speed things up, and differentiate better from a generic WordPress installation. Rest of forums stand, true, but WordPress is a great free platform for many people just getting started. It may not be the perfect fit for everybody, but it can get the job done. All states stand, rewarding responsible driving. They're not conflicting statements. Although all states' message is a bit off topic. I think it was the very specific language being used that triggered a semantics debate. Nobody was denying that custom software was dope. Just saying that WordPress has potential and shouldn't be completely discounted for people just starting out. Skill, I'm sure you completely understand that point. So we're all good. Speed plus to myself. Edit, I can't speed myself, so instead speed plus to all state. Edit, turns out. Or forget it. Very true. I totally get what you're saying about being dependent upon third-party software or a framework like WordPress. I keep telling people not to use LAMP but they won't listen. That ties you into Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. You have 4 dependencies now. I wouldn't go with WSU either, cause then you're tied to all Microsoft. It'd be best to independently develop an operating system, web host, database system, and dynamic web language from scratch. While all languages and frameworks offer great benefits as a starting point, that doesn't go deep enough. You're still dependent on the hardware. So I think I finally get the point. If I want to build a successful online business, I need to start with building a computer. Oh wait. I don't want to be dependent upon sources for the materials I use to build those machines. So I'll probably need to mine my own silicon and copper. So, if you want to start a software business, first thing first would be to start speculating for silicon and copper mines. Get right down at the base so you have 0 dependencies. Fast lane, here I come. Questions: why work with CH and refuse to use .NET? Why work with Java and refuse to use the Java framework? Why work with JavaScript and refuse to use jQuery? It really depends on how large your website will be. With that said, 90% of website projects can and are being done on WordPress due to the large community of developers, flexibility with the environment, and ease of SEO, which is a huge help. I would strongly advise towards WP, because you can start small and then go from there as time permits. As a comment, I'm using WordPress for my website and I love it. It's so incredibly simple, and here's the thing. You can mush some custom software into a WP project. You can use WP to get some quick landing pages and info pages going, use some plugins for this, that, or the rest, and there will always be some sort of way to mash it all together, even elegantly. The truth is that technically, you could mush together 3 content management systems, 5 custom HTML or CSS pages, and all that together on one website. Especially if you are doing the theme work. In my opinion, unless you are some professional developer, just go CMS. You can do Drupal or Magento as well, really. It just depends on the project. WordPress has a humongous community, so I ditched Drupal for it. BTW, when I say developer, I don't mean just knowing how to code, I mean, you can make websites just like apples by hand. For how it sounds from you, WordPress Plus is perfect. That's what I've been using. Sure, I could technically make it all in Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator or Dreamweaver with gobs of graphics and HTML and CSS, but I'd rather use my time on attracting customers. And unless you're damn good, professional web designers can do it better, so themes are the shit. If your business is incredibly dynamic, maybe sway a different way, but I can put my vote on yes, just do it. Just fkin do it and get your business on the road. Just make it happen. Otherwise you're going to be wasting extra time. You really should check out Elegant Themes, man. Basically they're one single group producing some really gorgeous themes with a custom settings panel and everything. It can even give WordPress a run for the money. It's basically a time saver because it makes it easy for me to build up a sexy, polished website without having to work my ass off to make the dimensions and imagery perfect. I can load up the latest WordPress release and throw an elegant theme into it. It looks great. And then if I don't like what they give me, I just customize it to how I like it with my skills in coding. There are also resources for people who don't know coding that will show them how to do the same thing. I like time savers. Yes. With themes like OptimizePress 2, you can make great membership sites. Setting aside all things about WordPress being unworthy or a way to get rich easily, you can quickly build a nice e-commerce site with it. You need 2 important items, first a free plugin called WooCommerce, and second a theme that specifically supports the WooCommerce plugin. The theme will cost you a few dollars at WooCommerce, or you can pick up some nice themes at Code Canyon. Set this up in WordPress and you will have a solid and safe e-commerce site. Someone that has worked with and knows WordPress can have a working site by the end of the day. But darn, if you want a nice looking site to get into e-commerce quickly, just go with Shopify. Not perfect, but it draws me like a bee to honey. Wish Shopify was available when I was selling orchids online. I would only go with WooCommerce if I really wanted to push the site hard with SEO. Having the selling side packaged with the information side in WordPress sure beats a blog on one of the big shopping carts if you want to build the site up over time with some quality SEO work. It really depends what is the nature of your business. But unless it is based on developing new apps or similar, it can be most probably built on some of the available platforms. You can always invest more later. Even a site like this can be built with WordPress. It is only a platform or tool, you still have complete control. In any case, there is not only WordPress, even though the more complex solution you are looking for, the better choice it is, as there is a huge community around it. Thousands of templates or plugins, etc. There are Wix, Weebly, Getbarley, IamCreator, for e-commerce, Shopify, BigCommerce, Ticktail, Stornvy, and many more. You should choose the closest competitor or something you like and explore his technology or platform with this. Find out technology behind websites. So if I have very little skills in coding, should I go with Shopify or WordPress for an e-commerce site? Also, what are hosting fees like? I think the last time I checked hosting was like $8 a month through HostGator. I have been using WordPress since 2009, when I started my first blog. I love it so much that I am on the organizing committee for WordCamp Chicago and Milwaukee. That being said, ignore which theme is best and do research based on which theme is best for your needs. I have used WordPress 2013 and been happy, while using OptimizePress can be great and frustrating all at the same time. It really depends on what you want it to do. Ignore platform, think about the outcome. You don't need any coding skills. And you also don't need separate hosting. Shopify and most other builders give you hosting and a domain as a part of the subscription. Except for Shopify. You may look at BigCommerce, Stornvy, Ticktail, Threadcart, PrestaShop, Weebly, Squarespace, Wix, to compare prices or features. If you want to go for WordPress, you may use this. Great responses on here. My take: if people have access to your product and services that they find value in, you can use whatever platform you want. Do answer directly, yes. Isn't setting up a WordPress site with products that you sell people for a profit fast lane? Make it profitable enough to automate and you make money when you sleep. That question is like asking if a pool can have water in it. Well, yeah, but you have to have the money to buy hoses, find a water source and then fill it up. Once it is full, you charge people to swim in it. You have one lifeguard clean and manage it every day for you while you are 1,000 miles away. Just make sure you charge more for them to swim than it takes to maintain and pay your one employee. People can correct me if they know better, but I believe the likes of NASA, Vogue, Forbes, LinkedIn, Sony Music and UPS use WordPress for at least parts of their websites. Of course these will have some excellent developers working in the background, but I think it shows that WordPress is a decent enough starter. Nope. Not Fastlane. Also, this kind of "it's not Fastlane, don't do it" thinking is harmful to newer people. You can get stuck forever in analysis mode trying to figure out what is Fastlane and what isn't. You might find ways to make the idea or business Fastlane as you go along. But you'll never start because, nope, isn't Fastlane. Great information here, thanks for bringing up the topic. It is a question I had and I am sure many other people had the same question. I opened this thread thinking there would be a bunch of examples of Fastlane businesses on WordPress. I guess I'll start the trend. Just so no one missed what I wrote 2 years ago on page 1. WordPress is primarily a publishing platform. If you're selling something and just need a site to write about the product, with maybe a few other features, then WP might be great. If your business revolves around the platform like an online service, it may be easy to get going with WP in the beginning, but if your requirements don't exactly match the available plugins and the way they work, you'll probably come to regret it. WP is not a magic make the thing I want box, despite many people trying hard to believe it. Also, don't underestimate the much higher risk of getting hacked. There's a lot of hacker love given to WP because it's such a rich target, both because so many people use it, and there's so much awful bug-ridden code in the ecosystem. Awesome Post Buddy had a great laugh after a tiring day building Peerfly or Pinterest ads campaigns. Here's the problem though, mining copper and silver depends on the planet Earth, again violates the law. Help. The answer to your question is yes, you can start a Fastlane business with WordPress. In fact, unless your product is a downloadable piece of software, the great news is that you can start the business even without the internet. Remember, businesses, believe it or not, existed even before the invention of the computer and the digital world. Truly shocking, I know. Perhaps the keyword in your thread title is started. You have to start somewhere. An actionable start is the first steps to success, Fastlane or otherwise. So as with a lot of things in life and on the forum, if you just make the first step, you're doing better than the majority in this world. I see a lot of procrastination on the forum. PPL posting is this is good or that bad, etc. etc. Just do it without wasting your time posting your thoughts or doubts. If it fails, you'll have learnt a valuable learning lesson, and if it works well, it's bloody well worked. I found once this article with famous bloggers' first websites. These are not exactly it, I can't seem to find it again, but will give you an idea. Of course, the design in the early 2000s was much more simpler, and now you can invest in a decent looking theme if you want, but it shows most websites started with something super simple. An alternative is to maybe look at a company like this. May be more affordable for you, but you have to do the comparison and see if it will work for you. Good luck. It depends on what value that you offer from your business. If the value is on the content of your website, and WordPress is only used to distribute it worldwide, then, yes, absolutely. You can use WP. But, if your value is on the technology, I doubt you can succeed. You need to build a custom web app in this case. A good one. Just my two. If blogging is the business you wish to start on WordPress, then you can definitely go for it. But a few things you should note is, 1. You forfeit control. If your primary monetization model is through affiliates or Google AdSense program, you are vulnerable to changes made by the affiliate providers or Google, as the case may be. 2. SEO. If your primary method of promotion is SEO, then also expect algorithm changes and instability in your traffic. It's definitely a great business to start, but you should be aware of the risks stated above. Disclaimer, I'm into the blogging biz full time. Hey guys, not sure if this is the right place to ask this question, but I couldn't find any other place better than this to get some assistance from the web gurus. I just purchased a hosting package from GoDaddy and installed WordPress over there. However, when I tried to visit the website, it shows a certificate error, something like this. Your PC doesn't trust this website's security certificate. Error code, DLG_flags_invalid_CA. Does anyone have any idea what could be the issue? Look into getting SSL or HTTPS working with your configuration. I believe I would have to purchase an SSL certificate. If so, are there any cheaper options? Cloudflare can provide free SSL certification via redirects. I've never been successful with it, but I know many websites use this. GoDaddy might also have free or cheap options, I'm not sure. Thanks for the suggestion. Actually, I had set up my blog's link to HTTPS, while you are supposed to use HTTPS only when you have a certificate. However, I moved back to HTTP. Now I have solved my issue. It's worth looking into getting an SSL certificate in any case. Besides being a major bonus for security on the site, for anything requiring logins or dealing with payments where you don't want to be dealing with unencrypted traffic. You can also run with an SSL-ready server, but that's probably overkill or too nerdy to worry about for the time being. I don't know anything about GoDaddy or other shared hosting services, but on the VPS servers I run, I use the free certificates from. They offer a range of options for various hosting solutions, so you might be able to find one that works for you. Yes, Let's Encrypt and Certbot work very well. I've been running Linux with root access over SSH. Would have to Google anything that isn't command line. I think last it was just sudo certbot and jinx or something like that, and the prompt walked me through everything I needed. Also, keep in mind that all of your linked files, JavaScript, CDN, CSS, or others that get loaded with your page will also need to be HTTPS for it to come out clean. Otherwise, browsers will display a mixed content warning. But, once you get that fixed up, you can embed pages into pages. For a while I was playing around with embedding an app with a UI into a WordPress page that way. Had to enable HTTPS or some browsers wouldn't even load the page without overriding it. Thank you for your valuable advice. I checked with GoDaddy few days ago after raising my concern here. I came to know that they allow Let's Encrypt on their servers, but it would be valid only for 90 days and I would have to reinstall manually. However, it's a good option rather than spending huge amount of money at the initial stages. Yes. My $15,000 or month blog is on WordPress. Start small and scale. You don't need to invest $5,000 in plugins and premium themes and shit before you test it. You can set Let's Encrypt SSLs to auto-renew. Do you have a VPS? Starting my business with a WP front-end and a Shopify back-end. If that's a bad idea, I'm open for suggestions. Is that even possible? Why would you do this? WP has WooCommerce, I know. I like the customization of WP and the Shopify platform is superior to WooCommerce, especially dealing with inventory, integrations, and they have a mobile app. Shopify is also cheaper at first than Woo. The recurring payments for Woo is $199. Also, I've got bigger plans for an online store in the future that I will most definitely want to run with Shopify. So for now it's WP greater than checkout link greater than Shopify. So what do you indicate?